stroke count of people that came in the last two Fridays.
Let's go back to that.
It called.
This house.
12 people came in.
So let's just turn this off and see what it's doing.
Just get them all nasty, Terry. Just get them all
Look
nasty.
at, you had to get it out of there. I mean, it didn't
To
matter.
say the least, it's kind of
This was easier to clean up than anything else. I mean,
That just looks like syrup almost.
it almost looks like sewer stuff.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Oh, nasty, nasty.
But, you know, I gotta get on
Oh,
there.
is it time, Sandy? There it is.
Gotta go fast today.
Oh, it is.
I got another meeting.
Look,
I gotta-
last minute.
I'm gonna-
Very good. Welcome, everybody. Please turn your ringers off on your phones, and then let's let Brent have a chance to come and sit down with us. Welcome, Brent. And then ask Doug Page to offer our invocation, please.
Heavenly Father, God, Lord, we come to you. Thank you for this beautiful day. God, we thank you for the many blessings that you give us that we don't deserve. God, watch over the people of our city. Be with our council tonight. God, your will be done through all things. God, we lift this up in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty. I don't know that we have any items of community interest other than this Friday. It will be the first Friday for the closing of the City Hall. So tomorrow, the hours start 7 to 6 on City Hall and the Finance Office. So, I'm on.
Know that.
Oh, business boost, very important. There's a Bowie business boost that starts tomorrow morning at 7:30 at the Community Center with guest speaker Dean Myers, and it's being brought to us by the Bowie Economic Development Corporation. And that would be it. So, let's move on to City Manager's report.
BCAC Underground will be finished with phase 1 of the sewer line project soon, and we're about ready to start the bidding process for phase 2. Phase 2 will be the Glen Hill lift station located close to Walmart. It's a large lift station which we had been having issues with, so we're rebuilding it to make it work better. We're also including a sludge pump at the wastewater plant, which will improve our operations at the plant. I should have an bid opening date soon. We've been having trouble with that sewer line behind Rayburn Drive. All of the tree roots in the area, and there's a tree line that goes down the fence, has been wrapped around the water line. So when we're digging for the sewer lines, we're pulling out roots, and the roots are pulling on the water line, and it's breaking the water line. So we're going to do some adaptation out there and make it so that Aljo or Ray don't lose water anymore. It'll be something that just take a couple of hours to do, and we can prevent that from happening again.
Yeah,
I'm sure, based on what's happening with that line, that we'll probably replace that line, that water line, sometime in the very near future. So, somebody say something.
I did. It's just not Rayburn Street. It's the whole Aljo addition when that thing shuts
Anyway,
down.
that's
over
where the line is
Yeah.
behind the Rayburn. So, anyway, we're gonna do that little bit of fix on it, and that should alleviate that problem. We're putting a valve in the line temporarily and doing a loop around it so that that won't happen again. We continue to have issues with the Nelson Street Bridge project. There has been a small crew at the site putting in water lines and sewer lines and getting those connected, but they should be ready to start digging out the bottom of the creek, getting the base of gravel and the webbing lattice in the creek. I know that some of the lattice is on site. I've noticed a pile of gravel there late last week, so they should start the process Wednesday. That's where we're at now. They still have not come up with an idea how to stabilize the drop box fixture, There are only two ways to fix it that we can see: tear it out and stabilize the base, or lift the structure out of the hole and then prepare the base to put back the structure back in the hole. Either way they fix it, we and our engineer must approve the process. Last Friday, Stoney informed me that all the new water lines and wastewater lines in construction have been completed supposedly today. They were working on it, so they should have finished. We're in the middle of doing the downtown revitalization project for Smythe Street. Our grant firm, Public Management, has been working with our engineers in the design process of the project. Of course, after the design is done, we'll start the bidding process. It will be a lengthy process, and we won't do any work until after September. The match for this grant will be budgeted in next year's budget. We will get about $450,000, and our match will be about $67,000. The grant will be for sidewalk improvements, for repairing the brick streets on Smythe Street, and some street lighting improvements. As soon as we have a preliminary design, I will bring it to the council for suggestions and ideas. So, as you remember, we budgeted for repairs at the swimming pool during the budget process last summer. The work of the major cleaning of the pool and then resurfacing is now taking place before the pool opens for the summer. We also budgeted for a new vacuum system that will help keep the pool cleaner in the future, which will eliminate the need to clean it out like we're having to do now. After this work is completed, I'd like for council members to go out and look at the project. I will let you know when it's completed. We opened the bids for the current Community Development Block Grant water line project for Wichita and Hutchinson Streets last week. Because the estimates for the project were done 2 years ago, the project bids came in for more than the grant amount. We, the grant writer, and the engineers trying to work with Texas Department of Agriculture to figure out how much of the project we can do. We did the bids in sections because we knew that the prices would be high, and because of this, we pretty much know what sections of the line we can do. At that time, and here it says still, the TDA won't change the process until after we accept the bids. And to protect the city, we don't want to accept the bids and sign a contract until we get permission from TDA to change the project. Last week, we finally got notice that the TDA had approved our request to award 4 sections of the bids, which are Wichita Street, to be awarded to the low bidder. Mike Tibbetts notified us that the low bidder is someone who's done projects for us in the past and is a good contractor. He will check on the low bidder, and the next meeting we should be able to award the contract. A couple of things that weren't on in the packet deal. I put several things in the auction that's, I don't know if y'all have seen the auction yard out on the Highway 287, but they've got a ton of stuff out there. I asked them when they came to see me if they'd take anything, and they said yeah. So there's 2 old police cars, one of them that we've been cannibalizing, and one of them that I asked Stoney if it would drive, and he said not on the highway. Those are out there. The old street sweeper is in the auction, and an old sewer machine and trailer is in there. So we should be able to make a little money off selling that stuff at auction. The buyer pays the premium, so whatever is bid, we get. So that's the good side of it. And they handle everything. They came and got the equipment today. They load it up, they deliver it out there. We don't have to touch it, and then they do all the title transfers and stuff for us. So it's just like almost like free money because everything that we're selling is stuff that we can't use anymore. I've worked with a couple of, 3 A&M students. They're working on a term project for their degrees, and one of them happens to be Caitlin Higgins, and with a couple of other young men. And I've had a meeting with them Friday before last. I guess that's what it was. And they're all just smart as a whip. And you know, out of mouth of babes comes a lot of good ideas. And anyway, they're working with government capital, our finance advisors, and working with me and whatever. And I'm sure they'll come up with some good ideas for us. So and if nothing else, we'll help them get out of college. So that's a good deal. Just a reminder, we're starting the 10-hour days. Mayor said that a while ago. I had Amber do a stroke count of how many phone calls and people came in. On February the 16th, we had 12 phone calls and 4 people came in. On February the 23rd, which is the last Friday, we had 4 phone calls and 3 people came in. Now, I think the reason this is happening is because the contractors that are coming in for permit, and these are all permits today, are coming in for permits, are doing all their permits online. You can fill out and send in your permit applications online now, so it won't be any different than it was. They'll still be able to continue to do that. So if that might alleviate some of your fears about people not getting taken care of. Any questions?
Brent, no questions? I'm sorry, I had to say that.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots, but, so what are we on the last little development for the water lines on Lover's Lane? What is the final status on that? Is this, again, they were,
You mean the sewer line?
yep,
It's done. Been done a couple of weeks.
they were tearing it out today.
They were what?
They were tearing it out today.
Well, I have no idea.
Okay, well,
I hadn't got any word that they were tearing out asphalt, because
they were.
they laid asphalt a couple of weeks ago.
And then they cut it open today.
So there must be a problem or something, so I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's what I was curious about.
But it'll be one of those problems at their expense, so.
Sure. Other question would be, as far as we move to this 4-day or 10-hour days, how will people calling in be notified or directed to the right spot on the days that we're not?
Well,
So-
I'm gonna be here on Friday mornings, at least 4 hours on Friday morning. And they're getting it so that the phones are directed directly to my office, so I'll be here, be able to answer the phone in here. So,
Are we gonna change that recording, like?
yeah.
Okay, because I
We're
called in,
making-
I
we're
called in
making
on one day when we was off on the holiday,
Yeah,
and there's
that's
nothing.
one of the things Amber was doing today.
Okay.
If her door was open, I could get her to tell you, but she spent last Friday making sure that, number one, that my phone would ring, and number two, that the messages would stop at 7 o'clock in the morning so that the actual phone calls could come through them. So she's been working on that.
Okay, any other questions? Well, if not, let's move on to the consent agenda items. You have the agenda in your packet along with the write-offs for utilities and library. And I would entertain a motion to accept all as, approve all as presented.
So moved.
Post, do I have a second?
Second.
Bates? Shaw?
Yes.
Gunner?
Aye.
Ashley?
Aye.
Bates? Post?
Aye.
McEwen?
Aye.
Good, thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is the audit. I'm gonna ask Valerie to come to the podium and present our audit, the right words out here.
A little tall for
Is the
me.
little green light on, Valerie?
Yes, ma'am, it
Okay.
is.
Okay,
I'm Valerie Halverson. I'm shareholder at MWH Group that's in charge of the audit for the city of Bowie that we just completed, which was for the year ended September 30th, 2023. Overall, the audit went well. We work really well. Pamela and her team do a great job of getting us everything we need, which is quite a bit. And so we appreciate all the assistance that we've received from the city as we went through it. So I'm going to go through some of the documents that we issued as a result of the audit. I tend to just hit the highlights. There's a lot of information in here. If you want me to stop or explain anything in more detail, feel free to interrupt me or raise your hand. Be happy to answer any questions. I always try to give you the information you need without going way too long and taking up too much of your time. So just feel free to stop me if you have any questions. So I'll start with this bound report, which is the annual financial report. It's the audited financial statements in our opinion. And first I'll direct you to page 1, numbered page 1, which is our independent auditor's report on the financial statements. This is where we provide an opinion, and it says that we believe the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects, which is what we call an unmodified opinion, and it's as nice as we get as auditors. It's what you'd like to see, so that's good. Past that, starting on page 3, gets into your management's discussion and analysis. This section is intended to be a little bit more conversational to describe how the statements work and the financial results of the city for the year. It also has comparative information, so I just point out those schedules just so you can see kind of the impact of the results of the operations for the year. So looking to page 5, the bottom section of page 5 is the city's net position. So it's your assets, liabilities, and the difference between the two is net position. Overall, the city's total assets are about $48.6 million at the end of 2023, down a little bit from $50 million at the end of 2022. And you can see that that's split between governmental activities, which is going to be police, fire, administration, things like that fall into governmental activities. Business type activity is your water, sewer, electric. And then overall liabilities were $17.9 million. And then your total net position is $32.2 million. Which is an overall increase of about $800,000 from where you ended the net position last year. The next page, the next 2 pages, but on page 7 is your changes in net position. So this schedule just shows revenues, expenses, and the change in net position. The city as a whole had just under $20 million in revenues for the year, about $19.8 million. Of that, about almost $12 million is from your utility fund, the water, sewer, electric. And about just under $8 million is from the governmental activities, your general fund. Total expenses were $19 million, so it's an increase of $827,000 in 2023. So $45,000 of that was in the utility fund, about $382,000 in the general fund. And then throughout the MD&A, there's just a little more discussion on specific balances, just provides a little more information. But I will move to page 11. Which gets us to our basic financial statements. Governmental financial statements are a little unique, so I like to take a little bit of time just to explain how they work. So this set of statements is what we call the government-wide statements. This includes all, the city as a whole is included in the governmental activities, business type, and then total. So the total column is the city as a whole, and then also this statement includes what we call component units, which is the Burke Economic Development Corporation and the Bowie 4B Sales Tax Corporation. And this statement and the next statement are the only 2 statements where you'll see those development corporations included. So in here, this is what we call a full accrual basis of accounting. So it includes all your fixed assets and debt and everything as a whole. And these figures are the same as the summarized table that I just went over. So just a quick look at the component units. Total assets for BEDC was about $8.8 million. There is a new balance here this year, which is for leases receivable. So there's a new lease standard that came out, and there's a lease agreement with the college. And so there's a lease receivable and then an offsetting deferred inflows of resources from leases. So that's not a new agreement, it's just a new way of showing it on the books. So BEDC's net position ended at about $6.9 million, and the 4B Corp ended at about $6.7. Moving to the next page is your statement of activity. So this is your revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. The format of this statement is a little unusual. So I'm going to walk you through one line. So the first section is your governmental activities, and then the first department that's shown there is administration. The idea of this schedule is that we care a lot about how the city is expending the resources that they are provided. So the first number is expenses. So the administration department cost $491,000 during the year of 2023. And then the schedule takes revenues that are directly attributable to that department. So charges for services, just $4,000. And then it goes across to the governmental activities on page 13. You'll see that first line is $487,000, a negative. So that's the net cost of running that department. You'll see that some departments, like for instance, sanitation has a positive number there. That's because the revenues exceed the expenses. If you go all the way down to the end of that column, you'll see the total governmental activities costs $6,180,000 before general revenues. And then you follow it down to that bottom section on page 13, and those are where your general revenues are listed. So those are revenues of the city that aren't attributable to any one department. They're just there to just generally run the city. So your property taxes, sales taxes, franchise taxes. So general revenues and transfers totaled $6.5 million for governmental activities, which resulted in your increase in that position of $382,000. So that kind of process follows down for all of these columns. So the utility fund or the business type activities had an increase of $447,000. Bowie Economic Development had an increase of $670,000, and 4B was just under $500,000. So this is a kind of unique statement, so I hope that helps a little bit in reading it. Past that gets to the governmental funds. So we go into the fund statements, and in the governmental funds, it is intended to be more like a cash basis or a budgetary basis, so it doesn't include any fixed assets or any long-term liabilities. So it's just a more kind of current assets and current liabilities. Overall, your fund balance, which is the difference between your assets and liabilities in the fund, is $3.7 million. Of that is 2.59 million is unassigned. And your goal for that is about 3 to 6 months of expenses in your unassigned fund balance, and y'all are healthily in that range. That's what you would want to see. Page 15 just shows the reconciliation between the statement on page 14 and the first statement that we looked at. So you're adding back capital assets and taking out long-term debt. So it's just a reconciling statement. Page 16 then goes to your statements of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the fund. And again, this is on that kind of budgetary, closer to cash basis. So things like fixed asset additions are considered an expense here, and principal payments on debt are considered an expense here. We've added a lot of detail into this. It seems like it just keeps growing, so I apologize that it's so tiny. But ultimately, the general fund had an increase in fund balance of $671,000 for the year. Page 17 then again is the reconciliation that shows how we go from one statement to the other, the cash basis to the full accrual. And then page 18, 19, and 20 are your utility fund, enterprise fund statements. This is on the same basis of accounting as the numbers that we looked at before. It's just provided in a different format, a little more detailed of a format. So the numbers are the same, it's just that the format, just a little bit more information on how it's structured. These three are intended to look more like a set of business financial statements for the utility fund. Starting on page 21, then goes into the notes to the the notes to the financial statements. This is where it describes your significant accounting policies, which are all in accordance with GASB statements and GAAP for local governments. There are some additional details, some of the ones that I like to point out because once a year is page 30. Shows kind of the breakout of the types of equipment and fixed asset balances that the city owns, the additions and depreciation for all of those assets. Page 31 shows the depreciation and how it's charged out to departments in that big government-wide schedule. So there was about $2 million in depreciation overall between the governmental and business type activities. Page 33 shows your long-term debt activity, so what was taken out during the year and what was paid down and the future payments thereon. So those kind of break out and just describe the different debt issuances that the city has and the future payments. It's included in that note. Page 37 begins the pension plan, which is the pension liability through the TMRS, the city's participation in TMRS. And we'll point out on page 40, just to kind of show you that what happened with that liability this year. So the TMRS liability is calculated based on the calendar year and is done by the actuarial team at TMRS. And so if you're looking at this table, looking at column A, they calculate the total pension liability. So that's the estimate for what the city of Bowie is owed for all is going to owe to all participants in the pension plan. So it's about $20 million is anticipated to be paid out in the future. Column B is what is held currently in the city's name by TMRS to pay for that anticipated liability, so about 18 million in assets held at TMRS for that city's debt. And then the net pension liability is the difference between the two, is about 2,100,000. So at the beginning of the year, you actually had about a $650,000 net pension asset. And 2022, as I'm sure you remember, was not a good year for the markets. And so that is what we're seeing here, is the impact of a market decline. It's largely going to be unrealized, and so it fluctuates, which is why it's kind of a recorded in through these deferred inflows and outflows to try to minimize what the city's seeing. But that was a big change, is really just because of an investment loss that hopefully has recovered since then. 2023 has been better, but that is why there was a significant change. It wasn't anything that the city did, it was just the value of those investments during 2022. Past that, we go into the OPEB footnote, which is other post-employment benefits, and that's the city's participation in the supplemental death benefit fund. Page 43 shows the calculation of that liability, about $292,000, which is anticipated to be paid out over future years. And those are the highlights in the notes. Obviously, there's a lot more information, but those are just kind of the most unique or most noteworthy things. Page 45 shows the budget to actual for the 2023 after all of our adjustments and everything. So revenues were a little bit below the final budgeted amount, and but expenses were a lot below the final budgeted amount, about $560,000 below final budgeted amount. So overall, came out okay. Page 47, 48, and 49 are just additional information on the pension and OPEB, provides some additional schedules. And then page 50 starts our compliance section. So we perform this audit in accordance with government auditing standards, which requires that we communicate any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. And so in here we do have one that we've reported as a significant deficiency, which is regards to audit adjustments that were required during the year. So we have agreed, and with our kind of engagement, that there are certain adjustments that we plan to make, like depreciation expense and certain cash to accrual adjustments. And so those are part of kind of our agreed contract, and that's very normal for cities. And in addition to that, there were some other adjustments that we had to make. And most of them were small. There were a couple of bigger ones, and so that's why we continued with the significant deficiency, because there were some audit adjustments that were posted. But last year we reported as a material weakness, and this year we felt like we had good reason to downgrade it from a material weakness to a significant deficiency. And we have gone through all of those with Pamela, and so we'll keep working hopefully to have that removed completely. But that is the one finding, and the impact of the adjustments that we made are shown as an attachment to this letter. And so, yes, the letter is the other item to go over. So this is a required communication where we have to tell you certain things, that there was a new accounting statement implemented today or this year, but it didn't impact the city's records. It's about IT arrangements. It was not impactful. We didn't have any significant difficulties or issues with management. And then here's the impact of the adjustments that we did make, that we consider to be audit adjustments. So those were the highlights for me. Does anybody have any questions or want to look at anything in more detail?
When we're looking at the significant deficiency, or what was in the past called material weakness, I've been looking at these for 3 or so years now. This list has definitely gone from like 3 pages down to about half a page, so I think that's an improvement. What are the areas, or do you make any recommendations of things we can improve so they can make these changes throughout the year, or where are we falling on that?
So the day-to-day activity is we really don't have any recommendations on that. I mean, we went through there. So we used to have a segregation of duties funding, which I think is what you're referencing.
Yes.
Which we removed it was removed for the first time last year. And we feel like the way that things are working now, they're in good working order, so we don't have any recommendations on that. We do have the audit adjustments, which is where the finding is from. So Pamela and I went through those audit adjustments and the ones that we kind of talked through what happened, and there we gave her some schedules where she needed it so they can start making those adjustments. So that's really kind of the recommendation that we have, but those are things that we just talked through with Pamela as they come
Okay.
up.
Any questions? Any other questions?
I did notice that one of the statements that you made was, additionally, we recommended that the city analyze unusual transactions. So what were you alluding to there?
So that is kind of accounting terminal. So that's something that we would consider unusual transactions, just something that is outside of the normal course of business. So, for instance, a new debt issuance that doesn't happen very often, or a new lease that comes in, or maybe there's a different source of revenue that, it isn't usually received, but we received a new one. So things like that, just things that aren't necessarily outside of the realm of normal for a city, but just kind of not in the day-to-day activity, not taking in utility payments or paying payroll, things like that.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Valerie. We appreciate all the hard work. So I would entertain a motion to accept the budget as presented by Valerie Halverson. The audit as presented by Valerie Halverson. I'm thinking that word did not sound right.
So moved.
Ashley, do I have a second?
Second.
Shaw? Gunner?
Aye.
Ashley?
Aye.
Bates? Post?
Aye.
McEwen?
Aye.
And Shaw.
Yes.
Thank you very much. The next item on your agenda is the resolution 2024-05. A resolution authorizing membership in the Atmos City Steering Committee and authorizing the payment of 5 cents per capita to the Atmos Steering Committee to fund regulatory and related activities related to Atmos Energy Corporation. Go ahead. I knew you were going to.
I was just gonna explain. This is the money that we pay a consortium of cities that we pay these dues in, and we hire lawyers, and when Atmos files for a rate increase, this is how we fight the rate increase. Years ago, we had to fight them, the city of Bowie against Atmos, now a whole bunch of cities against Atmos, and we do a whole lot better now of keeping the rate increases down and make sure that they're justified by Atmos. So that's all this is. And the membership dues are pretty much like they have been. The only cities in Texas that I know of that are not members are the major metropolitan areas. So towns like Wichita Falls, Waco, towns like that are members. But Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio, they fight those battles on their own. So
This is, and you may have even seen this when you were on the council before, but this is pretty much something we do every single year. So I would entertain a motion to accept Resolution 2024 -05 as presented.
So moved.
Gunner, do I have a second?
Second.
Host. Are y'all having a contest tonight I don't know about? Shaw,
Yes.
Ashley,
Aye.
McEwen,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
Post,
Aye.
and Gunner.
Aye.
Resolution 2024-06, a resolution for grant number 5046101, an emergency management response trailer, and Kirk is at the podium to discuss this with you.
Good evening. This may sound kind of familiar. 2 years ago, I came to the council to apply for a grant for a trailer and some communications equipment. We won the selection, we were awarded the grant, and then the state of Texas came in and said, we're going to let you have the communications equipment, but we're not going to give you the money for the trailer, which I never understood how they could do that after the selection process was completed. But that's what we're doing this year, is applying for just a trailer for use for emergency management. It'll be an enclosed trailer. I've got one of the little flyers for it in your packet. It is actually an off-road trailer, so it's got a little bit higher of a suspension, so if we need to be on dirt roads and that kind of thing, we can. It would be used as a incident command post, a mobile emergency operations center, a staging area center. It could be used for just about anything. Our intentions are to set it up to be a multifunctional vehicle and not build of equipment that would limit it to just doing one thing. We've got the communications equipment to go in it. We've got the generator to power it. It comes with an HVAC system. It comes wired for electrical. It comes with the lighting. It will also have an awning on the curb side, so we can have shade over the door, that kind of thing. But we just need to get council approval to apply for the grant. It is a 100% grant. There is no copay on our part. However, this is a lot like the FEMA grants. I got that bid about 30 days ago now. We won't be able to do anything to procure it until 1 October. I am hoping the bid will still be valid. Worst case scenario is it might be a little bit up. Can't guarantee that one. But hopefully it will be right. We'll be able to get it right for the price we got it. It is located, the company is located over on the east side of Dallas, so it'll be easy to go pick it up. We won't have to have it shipped. Trying to think any other questions. Anything I can.
And we have a truck that will move it
This
more easily.
particular trailer, that was the issue. We were trying to repurpose the former hazmat trailer from the fire department. Unfortunately, it's too big. It's 26,000 pounds, which requires a CDL driver to move it. It requires a 1-ton pickup to move it, which the emergency management does not have access to easily. This new trailer is 7 feet wide by 16 feet long. It is a trailer, a bumper hitch, and it can be pulled by a standard 3/4 ton pickup.
Okay.
So, or half-ton pickup, I'm sorry. So that should not be a problem in being able to move it.
All right. Any questions? It's 100%? I mean,
I like that part.
so
Yeah.
I would entertain a motion to accept Resolution 2024-06 as presented.
So, hang on a second. Hey, so at the end, if it comes back, we'll just reevaluate. If it comes in, we get the 100%, but it comes in, it's $10,000 more than what we thought it was.
It would come back to you.
Okay.
Yeah, it
That's
has to
what I
come back to
thought.
you.
I just want to make people
Yeah.
not sure they know that. Not
And
you.
I'm really gonna be mad if it comes back 10,000 more for a $20,000 trailer. Yeah,
Yeah. This is.
I
it
know.
It could happen.
I know.
We've been to the grocery store.
Did he move? Did you move?
I
Yeah,
made the
but-
motion.
Okay. So do I have a second?
Second.
Shaw? Ashley?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
Gunner?
All right.
McEwen?
All right.
Shaw?
Yes.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Kirk. We'll cross our fingers. All right, so the next item on the agenda is to review and an approval of substation transformer plans by Jay Evans, and he has some information for you.
Don't make me laugh, Terry. Good evening, council. Before I jump into the transformer, I wanted to let you know that after a 28-month waiting period, we finally received our new bucket truck. And we do have it out in the parking lot this evening. We'd love for you to come out and look at it. Let us show you around it. And don't know about any merry-go-round ride on it, but we'd love for you to look at it. And if you're not available this evening and with the daylight leaving us, feel free to come by the electric department anytime. We'd love to show you what we have down there. You like it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's an awesome asset. Did everybody get a copy of this? Okay. Do I need to read through all of it or just hit some of the highlights?
Highlights.
Highlight it, okay. So basically what we're doing is we're looking for a third transformer in the substation, obviously for the load growth that we've had, which is not terrible, but it is growing. We do have the reliability aspect, and what we're looking for there, if you notice down through the peak megawatt load that we have, on an average day, we probably peak out at 10 megawatts, and the maximum rating for one transformer is 14 megawatts. So on a normal, everyday, day-to-day basis, that our capacity is there. But when we have high demand, especially in the summertime, I've seen our load peak out recently to 18 megawatts. Over my time here, it started out give or take around the 16 megawatts. When we have an issue and we have to transfer all the load to one transformer, we're overloading that transformer during the summertime. Now, that's not necessarily a problem during the rest of the year, but in the summertime, it can be a problem. And just doing the math, we're basically overloading on an 18 megawatt day, we're overloading that one transformer by about 29%. And it's nerve-wracking, to say the least. We don't have a backup to that. If we lose that second transformer, we're out. And that's the reason for this third transformer. If you read through some of this, it's something I've been looking forward to ever since I started with the city. It's something I feel like that we need, and obviously over the years, it's proven itself. And here recently, this last year, we've had two situations to where we've had to transfer to one transformer because of either actually two regulators burn up, one on each transformer. The regulators are not attached to the transformer, they're separate items, but we have to transfer all that load to one transformer in order to change that regulator out. So, that's pretty much all I've got. The breakout through the talks with the engineers and the prospective testing companies, initial estimations, I've got it broken out there. Engineering design, $125,000. Contractor estimation, $400,000 to build the infrastructure that it's going to take, as far as the cement pad, the bus work, all the controls, the switches and everything that are going to be involved. The material, about $300,000. The purchase of the transformer in negotiations with Bryan Texas Utilities, who is our bulk power provider, they have a transformer that they've graciously offered us for $150,000, and if you notice, that's 1/10 of a new one. If we had to order a new transformer today, you're looking at approximately $1.5 million in a 2-year wait period. So the transformer, from my understanding, has been very well maintained. It's a 1994 model, but my understanding is they have kept it up. It's just no longer usable in their system. I'm not real sure if they just changed voltage. Do you know offhand? They just
He
changed.
answered that question to me, is the size of the transformers they're using in their substation is quite a bit larger than these, and so that's why they
Right.
just put this one aside.
Okay.
It
So
didn't match what they have.
Okay, so even though they went to a larger transformer, this transformer is actually larger than the ones we have. It's a 20 megawatt, where our largest capability is 14. So throwing all the city's load to this transformer won't be an issue. If I can give you an example of this, we have 3 pumps at the water plant. These pumps transfer the treated water to the water towers. Over the years that I've been helping out, I've seen numerous times where we've had 2 pumps out of service, relying on one pump. This is almost a similar situation. If if we lose that second transformer, we're down. And I don't, depending on what the situation may be, whether it's a regulator, it could be anywhere from a 2-hour downtime to possibly half a day. That regulators are another issue right now because the two that we lost, they are sent off for repair. And as you know, with supply issues, the repair shop said it will be 8 weeks before we can even get you a quote on the parts, before we can even order parts. So I'm still waiting on the quotes for those parts. Fortunately, I do have 2 spare regulators on hand, so everything goes good. We won't have to worry about that right now. Now, on the high side, the 138 kV side, we have had issues with the circuit switchers. Again, keep in mind this substation's 32 years old, so there's just going to come a time where things are just breaking down. And we had to, in our recent preventive maintenance, we had to change out one of the support columns. And Barbara, did you ever do a story on that? I'm sorry. That support column in the newspaper? No, just that. Okay. But anyway, we had that changed out during our preventive maintenance, and to my knowledge, we haven't had an issue since. But the issue where we're experiencing is when the regulator faulted out, we could not get the circuit switcher to turn back on. It just would not close back in. The first time that happened, we spent half a day out there trying to figure out what was going on, and just more or less with a screwdriver and some wedging, we were able to get it to turn back on. So, what I'm trying to say there is there's parts on the high side of the transformer, there's the transformer, and there's parts on the low side of the transformer. There's just several links in the chain that could cause us to have to change over or switch load to one transformer. And if we have that third transformer, we can divide that load out or take all of that load and go to that third transformer.
So would a third one actually act as the primary at that point, if you were to get the larger transformer?
So the plan would probably be to just kind of alternate through them, keep them all in service. Maybe on a monthly or semi-monthly basis, we might just roll through them so that we're keeping an eye and making sure that everything's good. That'd be the current ideal, but like I say, being it's a larger transformer individually by itself, it would be very helpful when we do our preventive maintenance. We can roll everything to that transformer. Literally, we're literally shutting down the part of the system that right now we have to split in half, and that takes time to do that for the engineers and the workers to come in and do their preventive maintenance task.
With the increase of use of electricity on the 2 existing, how long do you think those will last into the future as far as meeting demand?
As long as we do our preventive maintenance, it's I don't want to say infinite, but there will come a day when something will have to be done to them. They'll have to be rebuilt. But just keeping an eye on them and doing their annual preventive maintenance, they should last another 30 years.
So it's the same with the one that we're talking about from BTU. The parts are constantly replaced and cycled out. You know, the year it was made is kind of irrelevant from my understanding of it.
Correct. And like I say, it's my understanding that they've kept very good care of their transformers as well.
So Jay, let's go back to the 18 megawatts. When you said that we're 29% over capacity of either one that we have now. When you have to roll it over, putting us over capacity means 29% of us are without electricity?
No, I'm sorry. So if you take a peak load of 18 megawatts, a summertime load when everybody's running their air conditioners, and we're hitting that peak load, if we have to run on that one transformer that's only rated for 14 megawatts, we're overloading that transformer to that extent. Now, basically, all transformers are designed to withstand some overload. They have oil cooling capability with fans and everything, but you just can't keep it there for extended periods of time. And when I say extended, like probably days, I mean, you just can't do that. It'll shorten the life of that transformer considerably.
Without putting you too much on the spot, do you have any idea what the estimated of the unknown amount would be?
Not really. Now, we're supposed to have a meeting tomorrow at the substation with Brazos Electric because obviously they have to be involved. We'll be visiting with them, and I doubt if they'll be able to give us any idea tomorrow, but hopefully within a week or two, we might have a number for that unknown amount. The material cost, our engineer that I visited with, he doesn't normally deal in the material because most of the power companies that he deals with, they purchase the material themselves. That is an option. However, for this particular project, I would feel more comfortable just rolling that into the contractor side of it and let them deal with getting the material.
What do you think the timeline would be to the length of the job for having all this stuff completed?
If we get council approval today, we will obviously move forward as quickly as possible. The engineering and design work, I believe, they told us 2 months, if I remember when we met with them.
That's about right, yeah.
So it'd be approximately 2 months to design, get the contract documents put together and out for bid, and then we would obviously go out and select the best bidder. Once that takes place, there's time involved as far as getting material together, getting orders placed for the material. Again, you're going to have supply chain issue. Some of the material is probably going to be 6 to 9 months out. It's hard to say. My best guess and hope would be that we could be online within this time next year.
Wow.
I don't know that would happen, but that would be a hope of mine anyway.
Me personally, I'm all about protecting our city. But I also want to I would like to know what that unknown amount is, so
Sure.
I would like to see us proceed based on us getting that figure to kind of have some kind of idea where we're at instead of just saying, hey, we're all in.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to miss that on the transformer either. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we got the money to buy the transformer. I mean,
I was
all of
thinking,
the
could we
COVID.
not, I mean, if we're already talking a year out or 2 months of just sitting around waiting on engineers, I think that needs to be done no matter what point we do this, that'll have to be done, correct? The
Absolutely.
engineering of it, and I can't imagine
Correct.
that being significantly changing a ton. So I don't really have a problem moving forward with this, kind of carving out that one unknown, making sure that we can budget for it as we
Me too.
go into the future.
That's
I feel like
exactly how I
we'd
feel.
be doing a disservice by slowing it down.
So do we have an engineer that we can go to, and does it cost to hire that engineer?
So we do have an engineer already performing this work. They're the same engineer that has helped us throughout the past 18 years that I've been here. They've helped us on the upgrade of the relays in the substation, so they're very familiar with the substation workings and everything that we have. They've got all our blueprints and everything, so they pretty well got a jump on it, yeah.
Okay.
To kind of add to what Jay's saying and scare y'all a little bit, the city of Electra just lost a transformer at a substation. They're not up yet. That's been 3 weeks ago. They're not completely up yet. I think they're using some mobile transformers and stuff, but they didn't have a backup. They didn't have 2 transformers and stuff. And if you'd like to go through some cold weather or some hot weather without electricity, just don't do this. Because there's gonna be a point in time when it's the essence that we have that 3rd transformer.
I think that was kind of where my question was a while ago. If we were to lose a transformer and we're overloaded, some of the city's gonna be down.
Well, there's a possibility if we get in that situation, we would have to cut back on some load, yes.
Yeah. So there'd be alternating outages then.
That is a possibility.
All right, well, do I have a council member that would like to interject a motion?
Make a motion
Well.
For what?
hang on.
for, to go forward with the, do I have to read something? So, go ahead and go with the, see what the price is gonna be, is that what I?
So we have a motion on the table to move forward with the engineering, I guess, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Move forward with the engineering and the rest of the pricing and bring back to us some final numbers.
Yeah.
As close to final numbers as we can get.
Sure.
Thank
Is
you.
that okay?
Yes.
Does that give you enough starting point, or is there, I mean, because we kind of know some of the other costs, like the purchase of the transformer and starting to get it here.
So the way I look at it, if we have to carve it up, obviously, we're gonna have to move forward with maybe purchasing the transformer. There's a process that you wanna go through as far as testing the transformer before it's moved. Bring it in, get it set, we'll have to have cement in place and everything, so part of the contract will have to be done as well to get a cement slab in place so that we can set it one time. We move it and set it one time. And then you have to test it again, because there is a possibility that the windings, they call it shift, but there is a possibility that damage to the windings could occur during shipment. Probably very remote, but you have to do that testing just to make sure.
Well, let me ask you this then. If we purchased the transformer though, and one of our other transformers went out, could we take that transformer and replace it to our other transformer? I mean, to one of the ones, the load, will it work? I mean, the reason I'm saying that is we don't want to miss out on the transformer. If we went down and even if we didn't get the other stuff done, if we could replace that transformer and have it in hand, would that be helpful for us?
I think a lot of this price though is hooking it up.
Well,
To begin
that's-
with, to even
With
be able
all
to
new
use
though,
it.
the way I understand it, we're having to put everything new. We already got some of it system set in place right now that we could, I'm not
Well-
saying it's not like a battery where you take the cables off and put it on something else. How difficult is it, I guess?
well, actually, the substation was designed originally with space
Mm-hmm,
for the third transformer.
okay.
There's nothing in place. No wiring, no bus work, no concrete, no anything. It just has the space for the third transformer. Possibly to answer your question again, it's possible that this transformer, if we had it on site, it's possible that we could swap it out, but that's a lengthy process in itself, because you would have to line up technicians, people to do it, crane. It would not be just a
I understand
change it
that.
out
I just want to
real
make
quick.
sure that right now we don't miss out on the transformer and and if the other price came in so astronomical that we couldn't afford it, that's what I'm getting at.
Right, and I agree with you.
I wanna,
That's-
I wanna basically purchase the transformer and then get these, and be working on that part of it already, because eventually we're gonna have to have it
We're
one
gonna
way or
have
the
to have
other.
it. I like the way Terry's thinking. We
Better
need the
than what we've got.
transformer regardless.
Yeah,
Right.
but that's not our motion, but that's.
And in order to do the transformer, you need the engineering for that. I mean, all of these things chain into each other and whatnot, so.
Yeah.
So the motion on the table is to go forward with the engineering work and to bring back us the total numbers with your unknowns. And then if you would like, we'll bring this back on the next agenda for a move on purchasing the transformer.
And-
Or do you want to modify
I would like
modify your motion to move forward with the purchase of the transformer? Do you want to modify your motion?
Okay, that'd be fine. We can just do with, what's presented.
Yes.
To go forward with the, reviews or plan presented or engineering pricing.
Well, with the plans as presented,
Expected cost as presented.
we can do that. Maybe we
Can
can do
we-
that. Is that
We,
okay?
we have a real unique opportunity now. We've got $1,160,000. It's COVID money. If we don't spend it by January of next year, we lose it.
We don't wanna do that.
And there's not a better thing to spend it on. even if it went over $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, it would tickle me to death, because that's all we'd have to spend our own money for this. So it's a unique, very unique opportunity, and we need to take advantage of it.
And right now, the unknown, the Brazos portion, I don't wanna, get our hopes up, but it is possible that there may not. They may just
Well, I'll
come
make a
in
motion, we do it then.
But I mean, we won't know
Well,
that.
I'm just thinking, it's not gonna come in and cost us $1 million more is what I'm getting at, I'm just, to me, I'm ready to proceed with it, but I do want to get that unknown. I mean, I'd like to kind of work on that motion a little bit.
I will keep you informed at every meeting until we get it done.
How do
I
we
know.
lock
Can-
in the materials though? Because material goes up constantly.
Right. Again, on the material, that would probably get locked in at the time that the contract is let out, or the contractors get their pricing and come to us with their price.
Because I noticed that it's more than the transformer itself, that $300,000.
Right, and again, that's just a ballpark figure based on what's happening in other substations.
All right, so how is the motion worded as of this moment?
To go forward with the expected cost as presented and bring back the final cost.
Withdraw your motion. Yes. Okay, Christie's withdrawing her motion. Let's write the motion to read with us to
Let's make a motion to
Positive.
purchase the transformer and go forward.
Can we just make the motion to, as presented with pending a final
Yes.
approval on the Brazos and Bus
I like
extension
that.
metering at the next meeting?
I second it.
Okay, so the motion is gonna be to accept as presented,
Pending final approval.
pending final approval on the Brazos section, undetermined cost. All right, who wants to take credit for that motion?
We just did.
I think we just
Everybody?
did.
Shaw, you want to take credit for that
Sure.
motion? All right, do I have a second?
I did. Second.
Gunner? Post?
Aye.
McEwen?
Aye.
Ashley?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
Shaw?
Yes.
And Gunner. All right, well, you have your work cut out for you, dear.
Okay, thank you, council.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you very much. All right, well, the last item on the agenda is public comments. If we have anybody in the public that would like to make comment? If not, I'm going to call our meeting at 7:01. Thank you.
Very good.
I don't get choked.
I thought if he was gonna need mouth to mouth, I was gonna get TJ on that as quick as I could.
Yes.